So let's talk about the layout for the GUI with Java. So in Swing, we're going to talk about border layout, flow layout, and grid layout, right? Which we're going to compare with JavaFX too. So in JavaFX, we have border layout we call border pane. So it's exactly the same. You can go to top, right, left, center, or bottom. Sometimes we call north, east, west, south, and center. So let's look at how we use this. So this is a code from the previous, right? I'm going to actually show the new code, right? Create new project. So we're going to show you how to do the border layout swing. Now, let's review Swing a little bit, right? So first we extend JFrame. Then you need to import JFrame. And then we, like we said, we're going to create a constructor, right, to construct the graphic user interface, which in the main is just going to instantiate that constructor. Now let me run this. You see that when we extend JFrame, this turned to be a Windows. Right, just review JFrame Swing a little bit. You may not see it to show because that's one method we have to set, which is set visible to true, which is the method of JFrame. Then it should show right there. Right, like by default, it's not going to be maximized. You have to maximize it. Like that's the size. So then we want to set the size. Right, so let me do like 500. Then I can start to show you. Right, that's the windows. Now, let's talk about different layout, right? So we start to talk about flow and border. Okay, let's compare this. I show you this is border, right? And let's look at what's flow layout. This should be a flow layout, right? Sequence that you add in. So let's say, for example, I'm going to do layout. I call flow layout. We can look at previous code then. So if I do flow layout, then layout set to the panel, right? So this is a code that we've seen. If I change the width to 700, you see that this is the flow. So flow meaning I create labels, num1, num2 as text fields and buttons. I keep adding them. It's adding as a flow. Like the first one, label go first, second, num1 text field, third, num2 text field, and fourth is the button. Right, so but we said, okay, if I want to create a flow layout, I'm going to get something like that, right? So I'm going to just call flow layout and equals to new flow layout. But again, flow layout also it's set to the need to import and also set to the JPanel. So panel equals to new JPanel, and then just pass the flow layout right as an argument and import JPanel. So that means this panel use flow layout. let's start to add something to the panel. Dot add. So let's see, what do we want to add? We're gonna add, let's make button 1 equals to new j button. So I'm going to pretty much just add 5 buttons, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to create that 5 buttons. Again, we need to import j button, and this is swing. Okay, so we add button. So in panel, we're gonna add button, right, 1 to the panel, and we're using Flowlayout, so it's gonna add button 1 first, as the sequence that you put in the code, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if I run this, okay, so lastly I need to add a panel to frame. So the method add panel is going to add a panel to frame. I'm running this. We see those are the button, 5 buttons. Right, if I start to put a text, then we see text. Button 1. Right, to the constructor. Button 2, button 3, and 4 and 5. So let's run this. Right, so that's a flow layout. But we said, let's look at border layout then. So instead of using flow layout, we just change this to border, right, layout. So border layout. Import this. All right. When you add, it's just center. If by default, if you not specify that, everything is gonna go into center. So you see, it's like stacked at center. So you need to say the location where you want to add. So you can do top, right? We talk about something like this: top, left, right, center, bottom. Which that's for JavaFX. For swing, we call north, east, west, south, center, right? Or page end like bottom, page start like top, right? Line end like right, line start like left. Okay, so we can do either one. So now if I want north, east, west, south, and then center. So let's run and see. See that? So that is the border layout. You can specify location of the object. It's just how you organize your objects to the graphic user interface. Now, let's look at another type of layout. So we look at flow layout, border layout, and look at grid layout. So grid layout is just, let me show an image. Like grid like that. Just like if you create a pin pad for phone numbers, you can use grid layout. So you can control like that. So this one is 2 rows, 3 columns. So when you declare, you do the same. Also, this using different grids. That 2 grid layout here. So you can just say, instead of border layout, you can just say grid. Right, grid layout. Grid layout. I just need to import this one. If you use grid and you're not specifying the size, how many rows, it's going to have just 1 row for you. You add, it's just add like a flow, right? To column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I don't really need to use border layout here, right? Because it's not going to control to north, east, west, south, center anymore, as you may see. Right. So this is, I didn't specify, it's by default is 0 row and column depending on the object that you add, like flow. So if I add specify, it's just like, in this case, just like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or 1 row, 5 columns. Just like that, 1 row and 5 columns. But if I actually want to reduce to 3 columns, it can't, because 1 row cannot fit off this object. So let's keep adding. So I need to have 2 rows, right? See that? So 2 rows and 3 columns. So 5 objects can fit in there, right? If I want to have 2 columns, 2 rows, so it's going to do, it can, because 5 objects, so it's going to add another column. Then I actually need to increase rows, 3 rows. So the first one is row, the second one is columns. So I have 3 rows, 2 columns, like that. Right, the object just add the sequence like that. Look at grid layout. This is 0, 0. Right, row 0, column 0, 0, 1, right? So if I want to switch between these two, like button 2 here, button 1 here, then I have to put button 2 to 0, 0, right? Comma 0, 0, and then button 1 to 0, 1, right? Row 0, column 1, which you can specify the location, right? Let's try 0, 0 first. Yeah, it's going to switch for you, right? And between 3 and 4, you can say 4 go to 1, row 0, right? Columns.